are coming home to the body today. And I was pretty excited about this topic. I went on I did a virtual silent retreat last week for a week long with Insight LA, and it was really wonderful. And so I'm going to share some of the teachings that we learned and practiced during the retreat in this. And this is 1 hour-ish yoga class, which won't do a week-long silent, the wisdom gained from a week-long meditation retreat to try to, share it in this yoga class. We'll give you a little snippet of the beauty here. But so I was compelled to talk about the body today, and I'm reminded of, we all have these moments of like awe and epiphany, and for me, one of these moments was when I was in medical school studying physiology, I think. And but among, in the first and second year of medical school, a lot of it is like the basic sciences, biochemistry, um, physiology, learning about organ systems and molecular interactions because you need to know how drugs interact, chemically in the body, and then also, how um, molecules in the body come together to create this masterpiece. I was just suddenly struck by the awesomeness of all the millions of things that's going on inside this body, from the you know cellular, molecular, atomic level, to get liver to do what it does, and not to mention electricity, how how electricity functions through the body in each cell, how all this works together for the heart to beat. There are so many processes that are just all working together so synchronously and beautifully. It really is a work of art, a masterpiece, a mystery, and a wonder. And it, it's for me can be just so like overwhelming to think about. Like it's like mind blowing, and not to mention how this body. So that this is one system, but then we go beyond the body and how we interact with each other in on this earth, with the trees and weather systems, and how all of this is working together. It really is just so awesome. If you ponder it for a moment, it is just mind blowing. And so, uh, thinking about the beauty of this, and the gratitude, and how much of our life we do not have control of. We are not conscious of, like, we're not making this heartbeat. We're not consciously making this heartbeat and this life happen right now. The fact that we're sitting here alive is amazing. And so homage to that, celebrating and having gratitude right now for this body and this life in this moment, um, and thinking about awareness and how awareness is there. Our bodies, so much that our bodies are aware of that we are not. Like, think of the things that somehow we manage to know while we're sleeping, like the time to wake up, or sounds, that some sounds we wake up to, and some sounds we don't. Some sounds we let it ride, but some, curious sounds, we wake up. So there's some awareness there that we are not always conscious of, but things can come into our conscious awareness. And there's so many things that when we live our life, we're reacting to something that is unconscious, um, reacting unconsciously, with you know, so many times we feel it, we feel an itch and we scratch it before we even really let ourselves um, really feel the itch and like, do we really have to scratch it? Or um, sensations in the body that we react to without really having a second thought or thinking about it. Cravings, we find ourselves in front of the refrigerator or with a bag of chips and munching on it before we even, you know, realize how we got there. Um, so what we are doing today is slowing it down and noticing. And so much of our life and so much of what we feel and know is contained in the body. And what we are responding to or reacting to, so much of it is, if we boil it down to the basics, is we're reacting to something that's pleasant versus unpleasant. When something is unpleasant, we want to get rid of it. We want to avoid it and just get rid of it. Whether it's a physical sensation or a sound or a thought or feeling. Um, for example, like with the cravings are often a reaction to something else. So, it's triggered by something, whether it's boredom or grief or shame, that these cravings are a reaction, oftentimes unconscious, to something else. And we already got the something in our mouth, or we're doing this addictive activity or compulsive activity that we do without even um, realizing like what kicked it off, and and so that's like an example of acting out of a sense of aversion to something unpleasant, versus things that are pleasant. We cling, we cling to it, or we tend to have that desire or urge to cling to it. Like this bag of Voodoo Zaps potato chips. It's really tasty. Can't just eat just one. I just want to keep throwing them down my pie hole because I'm clinging to this pleasantness, right? And same like with this little jacket that I'm wearing. It's so comfy and cozy. I started to take it off before class. I did take it off, and I felt a little chilly, and I was like, oh no, I just really want this comfy sweater back on. So I put it back on. And the thing about, pleasant versus unpleasant versus neutral, things change. I'm already starting to get hot with this sweater. And once I finish that whole bag of potato chips, I feel quite unpleasant. So the the nature of things, if we notice, the natural course of things is that they rise and fall. There's an onset, there's a rise in intensity, and then there's a dissipation, and it goes away. But oftentimes we only notice it when we're at the height of it, right? When I'm hot and I got to take this jacket off, you know? Well, or what did I notice when I started to feel warm? Um, when we only identify with the highest point of intensity of whatever it is, that's all we remember, and then sometimes we think that that's all we remember about this thing and about ourselves. So the practice is to notice, is to slow down and notice when it starts, see, or notice when you first notice when it starts, notice the height of its intensity, and if you can, stick with it. And this is, for example, with an unpleasant something, is to, before reacting, notice the urge to react, the desire to get rid of it, to adjust, or scratch, or if there's a sound, like to cover your ears, or tell the person to shut up, you know, or notice that, slow it down, notice that desire, and if you can note, okay, that's there, but okay, the awareness of this object, uh, just witness it for a moment and see what happens. See if you can notice the rise and the fall and the dissipation. Similarly, with pleasant things, notice the desire to want more of it, and the desire to sort of cling to this, you know, and and remembering that the clinging is what leads to suffering, and allowing ourselves to experience uh, whatever it is as it comes and as it goes. And then to noticing neutral things. So, with things that are neutral in our awareness, they are often unconscious, you know. For example, if you're sitting here noticing the hands, or the feet, or the lips, or the ears. If we um, bring our awareness to it, it's like, oh yeah, that's there. Uh, so, and the reason why I'm talking about all of this is that the body is aware of so many things, even when our conscious awareness is not. And to get to know ourselves, we really have to get to know our bodies. And, just like with pleasant, when it comes to pleasant, unpleasant, I love, pondering this is because it applies to so many things, whether it's sound or sensation, thoughts, feelings. We have a tendency to react the same way to either aversion or clinging, and how that manifests. When it comes to thoughts and feelings, there is a felt sense in the body of what that is, of what that means. And we know it by experiencing it. Uh, it's Valentine's Day. Thinking about love is not the same as loving. That's something that, we feel in our bodies, whether it's a warm feeling in the chest, or softening. Everybody's different to some degree in what, I mean, you know what it feels like in the body if you pay attention. But it's there. There's a visceral reaction to everything, whether it's intense or whether it's subtle. Talking about grief is not the same as grieving, as feeling grief. that is experienced in the body. Same with craving. What does craving feel like in the body? So taking, really getting to know our bodies and noticing the felt sense of things, and also seeing how that rises and falls. The onset, the rises in intensity of the felt sense of an emotion, and the falling away, the dissipation. It happens. Sometimes it takes longer, sometimes it takes shorter, but that's the nature of everything. It's when we fight it, when we resist it, when we attach a story to it and the mind kicks in and starts running with something. And oftentimes, if we're reacting to something unpleasant, the mind is behaving in a way, that is averting, you know, bringing our attention to something else because we're trying to avoid being with this and feeling this. And so we go somewhere else. And and that somewhere else, excuse me, that somewhere else may be another emotion, like anger. And that's something that I notice, realize. And when I get into, thoughts of feeling like angry and blaming or thinking about how I'm going to do this, and gain some, you know, control in a situation, that's me reacting to, me wanting to have this sense of power because I'm reacting to some vulnerability. I'm reacting to maybe grief or uncertainty, a sense of anxiety and vulnerability. And so that is what I need to sit with, because when I go on that other train, then I never deal with this. And so it doesn't go away. It keeps coming up and keeps coming up. Either way, it may keep coming up. But how you deal with it, you want to let it, notice that it comes and goes. It all comes and goes. And notice that this body, these sensations, it's all also in a broader sense of awareness of beyond our bodies. So today we are going to practice just noticing our bodies because it's so important. And in these practices of yoga and other physical practices where you're getting into the body is is a great way to really get to that wisdom. So let's settle in and bring ourselves here. Bring our awareness, our conscious awareness here to this moment, to this presence. Now, invite you to close the eyes if you choose, or soften the gaze, and just notice. Notice sounds near and far. Notice the light in the room or outside, or entering the eyelids if the eyes are closed. The temperature of the room or wherever we are. And bringing awareness to the body. And if the mind wanders, if we notice that our mind has wandered, then that's an indication that we've returned back to a sense of presence here. And so celebrate that. I'm back. And for a moment here, bring the fingertips together, all 10 fingertips. And really, the amount of effort that is needed. Just the amount of effort to notice that all 10 fingertips are touching. Just noticing that. Now placing the hands down and noticing the body. What comes in and out of awareness. Notice something that feels pleasant right now. For a moment, whether it's something, a sound, or the temperature of the room, or sensation in the body, whether it's something physical, the softness of something touching the skin, or a felt sense. And noticing something that is neutral, maybe something you hadn't noticed before, bringing awareness to the lips, or the hands, or the feet. And you might notice something that's unpleasant that may come and go in awareness, whether it be an itch or an ache or a sound. And notice the urge you might have to adjust or react to it. And if you can, don't, and observe. And see, bringing the awareness there, what happens to it. And if you can stay with that, stay with it. If you do react, it's all good. The practice is noticing the reaction and slowing down, noticing the urge to react. And knowing that we can hold this awareness of all of these things at once. And we can become conscious of an expanded sense of awareness within our bodies and beyond our bodies. But it's really important to really get to know our bodies. So with this,